can do it in ones and say mark the 66.
I can do this.
Me too. Thank you so much.
What is that?
I'll just take the number of this. This is 66. I'll just change the number of this. Okay? I wrote this on there. I'll just take over.
The record will reflect the presence of the members of the jury. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be continuing with the examination of Sergeant Liu, who is present in the courtroom, and you understand that you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that I'm going to do before we proceed with the testimony is I'm going to inform you that of the fact that the parties have entered into a stipulation of fact in this case. And at the conclusion of the trial, I'm going to be providing you with a written instruction that I'm going to read to you right now, and I will read it to you at the conclusion of the trial. And that governs stipulations and how you treat stipulations of fact. The instruction reads that you must accept as conclusively proved any fact to which the parties have stipulated. And in this case, the parties have entered into a stipulation of fact, and I'm going to read that stipulation to you at this time. The stipulation reads as follows in terms of the facts: that the defendant, Stephen N. Capobianco, was fully advised of his constitutional rights prior to being questioned by Detectives Wendell Liu and Leif Adachi on February 12, 2016 at approximately 11:22 a.m. at the Maui Police Station located at 55 Mahalani Street, Wailuku, Hawaii 96793. That is the stipulation of fact entered into by the parties in this case. All right, anything else with respect to the stipulation, Mr. Rivera?
Nothing further from the
Mr.
state.
O'Connell? All right. All right, then we'll now continue with Sergeant Liu's examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Sergeant Liu, before the lunch break, do you recall testifying that when you first met with the defendant in the parking lot of the Wailuku Police Station, upon greeting him, at some point you saw that he was looking at a cell phone? You remember testifying about that?
Yes, sir.
And after playing the recorded interview of that morning, do you recall a discussion with respect to the defendant's smartphone?
I'm going to check leading.
Judge, I'm bringing up a point that this is a preliminary question of fact.
Yes, preliminary, the objection is overruled.
Thank you. So you can answer that. Do you recall discussing the topic of defendant not bringing his smartphone with him to the interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on that, is it your memory that the defendant had a cell phone?
Objection leading.
The objection is sustained.
How can you reconcile your earlier testimony that you had seen him with a cell phone given his statement that he did not have his smartphone with him during the interview?
When he came to the station, he had a device. I, at that time, assumed it was a cell phone, and I could have been mistaken that it was not a cell phone.
When you say a device, are you able to describe that any further?
Basically, it was just a small handheld device that in his hand.
Now, during that first interview, you testified that other than yourself, a detective, Dennis Lee, was with you as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
After that first interview, Sergeant, did you conduct a second interview with the defendant that morning?
Yes, sir, I did.
And do you recall approximately what time that occurred?
About 11:22 a.m.
And during the second interview, was that alone or was another detective with you?
That was with another detective, sir.
And which detective would this be?
That would be Detective Lifadachi.
And as far as back at that time, Detective Lifadachi, was he within the Wailuku Criminal Investigation Division?
Yes, sir.
And which part of the division was he assigned to? Property, persons, or sexual assaults? If you know.
Property under white collar.
And where did the second interview take place?
This took place in the lieutenant's office.
So it wasn't in the interview room where the first interview took place?
No, sir.
And does the lieutenant's office, does it have, is it open or is there a door to seal it or close it?
There is a door, sir.
And was that interview recorded?
Yes, sir.
Now, at that time, well, you testified earlier, and we heard the interview, the first interview, you did not inform the defendant of his constitutional rights. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In this second interview, did you inform the defendant of his constitutional rights?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you inform the defendant of each and every one of his constitutional rights that were required under Miranda?
I'm gonna object on it. We talked about this.
Uh,
I mean, if he wants to open the door,
The objection,
Judge,
I'll sustain it.
if he wishes to open the door,
Judge, can we approach? I'm not sure what part.
We already had a stipulation on the advisement of rights. Is that what you're talking about?
No, not the prior rights.
I understand that.
It's going to be part of the recording.
I see what you're saying. Then maybe you should approach.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Okay, now Detective, Sergeant Liu, did you inform the defendant of his constitutional rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And after you informed him of his constitutional rights, did he agree to continue speaking with you and now with Detective Lifadachi?
Yes, sir.
Now, before coming to court, did you have, was that interview recorded?
Yes, sir, it was.
And after that interview was recorded, did you have a chance to listen to that recording?
Yes, sir.
And when you listened to that recording, did you compare that with anything?
With the transcripts?
Okay, so a written transcript was also provided for you after the interview?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to verify the accuracy of the written transcript with that other recording?
Yes, sir.
And I should ask you this first of all, was the recording that you reviewed, was it accurate according to your memory of the interview you had with the defendant during this second interview at 11:22 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
And when you compared it with the transcript, was it essentially accurate as well?
Yes, sir.
Now, you described this morning when the transcribers don't understand, or if it's people talking over each other, they will put unintelligible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, was that done in this transcript as well for the second interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay, with the exception of what was intelligible, for the most part, was that transcript for the second interview, was that accurate to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
Subsequent to coming to court, did you have a chance to review again that transcript as well as, not subsequent, prior to coming to court, did you have a chance to review that transcript as well as the recording?
Yes, sir.
And are they still accurate?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may do so.
And at this time, the state would ask that the State's Exhibit 65 be marked for identification as well as State's Exhibit 66. I'm just going to take this up. May I approach him?
I may do so.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to show you what has been marked as 65 and 66. Okay. And 65, the, what, it's inside the, prior to coming to court, were you able to authenticate that State's Exhibit 65 and 66 are accurate representations of one, the recorded interview, as well as the transcribed statement of that interview?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence State's Exhibit 65 for identification, and just mark State's Exhibit 66.
I would like an opportunity to briefly voir dire, if I could, Your Honor.
You may do so. You know, it's been brought to my attention that someone forgot something in the jury room. Just needs to retrieve it
Oh, sure.
quickly. So we're going to just allow that person to do that, and
Is this on the notice?
we'll just wait right here with us.
You need exhibits.
No, he says he has no ideas.
What?
He hasn't given this.
Did you give me one? We don't have one.
Well, I'll get him one.
I said I have one.
This is the advisement.
This is the license of the defendant. This one. Here. What do you think it's a 12?
May I resume, Your Honor?
You may continue. Yes.
Thank you. Just one brief question, well, one or two, Sergeant. Is it your testimony that you basically compared the transcript with the recording? Is that what your testimony is?
Yes, sir.
And to be more accurate, are you testifying that you read along with the transcript as you listened to the recording? Is that accurate?
Yes.
And your testimony is that you did not find any discrepancies between the recording and the transcript?
Not that I noticed.
Okay, I have no further questions.
And the defense position relative to the request by the prosecution to State's Exhibit number 65, marked for identification purposes, received in evidence.
I would just object for the record, that's all.
All right. In other words, preserving any objections
Correct.
previously made. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything else. All right. Thank you. All right, then, and at this time, State's Exhibit number 65, marked for identification purposes, is received in evidence. And you have the transcripts. We'll have the bailiff distribute those. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier in the day, I read you an instruction concerning the playing of a recording and the manner in which you should treat the recording, what you hear, versus the transcript that's being provided to you to assist you in following the recording. That instruction applies to this recording and transcript of recording, in other words, State's Exhibit number 65 in evidence. So please keep that in mind, that instruction applies here equally. All right, and at this point, every juror does have a copy. Very good. You may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor. At this point, the state would ask permission to publish the recording.
Permission is granted.
Thank you.
This is a continuation of an interview with Stephen Capobianco under Police Report 14-006476. Okay, Steve, do me a favor, print your full legal name for me up here.
Middle name also.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to advise you of your rights, yeah. At the end of each of these rights, if you understand your rights, I just need you to initial, okay? So it says, before I ask you any questions, I'm going to tell you about your rights. You understand that? So just initial there. You have the right to remain silent. You understand that? Anything you say can be used against you in court. You understand? Okay. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before I ask you any questions and have a lawyer with you during any questioning. So you understand that? Okay. You are over the age of 18, correct? All right. Read this statement out loud to me.
I understand the English language. I have read and heard the statement of my rights, and I understand what my rights are.
Okay, you understand your rights?
I do.
Okay. I need you to sign. Today is 2/12/14, and the time right now is 11:22 a.m. Okay. Okay, Steven, now that I've advised you of your rights and that you understand what your rights are, would you like to waive your rights and speak to me now without talking to an attorney?
Sure.
Okay, so indicate initially yes, okay? Alright. You know, the thing is, I notice you have injuries on your hands and stuff. What is that from?
Burned from work as a baker. That happens a lot, especially on this arm.
Okay.
This one was from working on my truck window. The window came down on me. I was trying to prop, the motor failed, trying to prop the window up with the dowel on the inside so it would just stay up. Thing slammed into my finger.
When was this?
It was roughly a week ago.
A week ago? Okay. Do you have any other injuries and stuff on you that I need to know about?
No, but I would be willing to show you if you'd like to see.
But we haven't threatened you or mistreated you, correct?
Absolutely not. You guys have been absolutely respectful, and I do appreciate that.
The thing is, did you guys have a fight? You know, was there an argument? It's like, you know, I know how relationships go. We all get into that, you know, situations where, hey, honey, everything's good one moment, next thing it just goes to shit. You know, I totally understand that. Is that what happened?
No.
You know? So, you know, you gotta try to help me figure this out.
That's why I came down here, and I'm doing my absolute best. I told you guys everything I have. I have literally been doing everything I can to help find this girl myself. I want to find Charlie. I want to find my child. I want them to be safe. I love them. I love Charlie. I don't, you know, child's not there yet, so. But I still love the idea of having a legacy, and I would never bring any harm to that.
Did Charlie tell you she found somebody new? She
No.
doesn't want you in your life. The child's not yours. What?
Nothing like that. Literally, the last time we talked about names. And I don't know what word for word, but when we started talking about the names, she mentioned that obviously it's going to have the last name Scott, so she wanted to have an Italian first name, as, you know, Italian. So we were discussing that, and then I really like the name Alexander, and every time I do think about children, I always thought my son would be named Alexander, so.
So you knew it was a boy already?
No, I just was really, really hoping. Who doesn't want a boy for their first child, right? The conversation continued, and she wanted to have her uncle be some part of it, so I think we didn't decide anything then, but the end of the conversation ended with the name possibly being Alexander Joshua Scott. And everything was amazing. That was the best it had been in a really long time. Like I said, it's been touch and go because it was a touch and go situation. Unplanned pregnancy, we're not together, it was gonna be weird, two single parents. But everything was fine. There was no arguments that night, there was no altercation of any kind.
Was there any issue about her not putting your last name on the birth certificate?
No, I was absolutely fine with that. She wanted to, we could have hyphenated it or something, but we just never got that far in the conversation.
You're the last person to see her alive, you know, at this point and stuff. You're telling me that she followed you all the way out to Huelo area where you guys hit the straightaways, and then that was pretty much it. You know, you didn't text her till the next morning to tell her thanks, you know, kind of stuff. So, you know, why didn't you wait till, you know, her headlights caught up? Why didn't you just take off?
Because we were both in an area where we had cell phone reception. I was close to home and wanted to get home to my dog. I figured if she needed any help, she was just a phone call, and I don't have my phone to pull out, but just a phone call away. She wasn't stuck in K&I anymore. If she got stuck at Twin Falls, I could have easily turned around and come and got her. So that's where I came from.
So how far from Twin Falls do you live?
My address is 225 Legal Place. Roughly 20 minutes.
Where's Lipo Place?
Calipo. It's so if you're going past Twin Falls on, what is it, Hana Highway?
Yeah.
Turn off on Kapakua, go up Kapakua a couple miles until you get to Pakanu, Five Corners. Five Corners. It's a street right after that called Pakanu or Pakanu, however you pronounce it. Up that street a little bit to Waipilani. Turn off Waipilani onto Kalipo, and then follow that for about 3/4 of a mile, and I'm on the left.
Okay. Do you have any issues with us looking in your vehicle?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. You know, the thing is, you know,
My dogs are in there right now.
that's fine. Yeah, I mean,
I just leash them.
yeah. You know, my whole thing is, I'm trying to figure it out, because, you know,
It's your job.
Alright, so, if I pull you up in my system and stuff, I'm not gonna find any other girlfriends and stuff, abuses and that you've been involved in.
Absolutely not.
So, I gotta ask you again, Steve. Shit happens, I understand, heat of the moment, it was an accident, whatever.
There was absolutely no altercation. There wasn't even any physical contact between us besides the hug I gave her when I got into her car.
Because the thing is, we're gonna eventually find her and stuff.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if we do find her, God willing that she's alive and stuff, she's gonna tell me Steve hit me, knocked me out, tied me up,
She will
whatever.
not tell you that.
How positive are you?
100% sure.
Okay.
I have never hit her. The only time I did unintentionally hurt her was we were, playing around, roughhousing, and it just, I'm a man, she's a woman, it got a little bit out of hand. But it wasn't like I maliciously hurt her, it just, I threw her onto the bed a little too hard.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is, let's say we find her body, deceased and stuff, God forbid that. But if that does happen and whatnot, is it gonna show that she was strangled, or she was stabbed, she was shot?
Fucking hope not, and if it was, it definitely was not me.
Are you positive it wasn't you?
I'm 100% sure it was not me.
And like I said, I gotta stress to you, we understand shit happens.
I understand, and I understand where you guys are coming from too. This is your job. Statistically speaking, when something like this happens to a woman, it's usually the man involved. I give you as much information as I can. I'll even drive you guys out there and show you step by step what happened, whatever it takes.
But you told me in our previous interview and stuff that when you drove out there, she pulled out in front of your vehicle. She didn't get out of the car whatsoever. Is that correct?
No, I said that I pulled out in front of her vehicle when we...
No. When she drove you out there when you first arrived at your car.
Oh, she had pulled up in such a way that her headlights would shine on my hood.
Okay.
That's what I intended to say, I believe.
Okay. And at any time did she get out of the car?
No. She offered help at one point, but I said no. She's pregnant. I wanted her to sit there and be comfortable. And, I cut myself when I was working on the truck. I didn't want that to happen to her, even though that's little, I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her getting hurt at all. So I did it all myself. It turned out to be pretty simple, actually.
And you said, what was wrong with the car?
I'm assuming that I had taken a turn a little too sharply. My battery is held in with a bungee cable. I can show you that right now. I'm assuming that when I hit one of the turns too hard, it slid because it was not where it was supposed to be when I opened the hood. And some of the wires had come ripped out, like the positive terminal wasn't completely connected pretty much. So I wasn't getting power to my starter, I believe. And I didn't notice that the night before because it was late, I was tired, I just wanted to get home and get to work the next day.
Okay. Are you a mechanic? You know how to work on cars?
I'm a big do-it-yourselfer, but I don't have the tools to do everything.
Now the thing is, you only really need your battery to start your car, but your car is working fine when you're driving out there, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So if your battery came disconnected and stuff.
So, driving out there, I was going uphill, the car stalled on me, I stopped, tried to start it again, and it just gave me that little
Okay.
So I assumed there was a short somewhere and that my battery was being drained.
So now your car's stalled.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay. Why did it stall?
Again, I'm assuming it's because my battery shifted and moved a bunch of wires. I'm really not sure.
Is your car automatic or standard?
Standard.
Standard? Okay. No. And what kind of car do you have?
92 Toyota 4Runner. With a 9-inch lift and 33-inch tires.
Alright. So what happened after the car stalled?
I was in the middle of the road, rolled it backwards carefully into the next spot so this is the road, I rolled it back out of the road. Proceeded to tinker with a few things, but I had no tools with me and my measly little cell phone for light. So I gave up after about 10 minutes and just started walking back towards Haiku with my thumb out. And I don't recall how long it took, but about 3 cars passed before I got picked up by somebody. And they took me pretty close to my house because they were going to Montfort anyway. So they dropped me off at the bottom of Pakanu. Took me roughly 20 minutes to walk home from there. Got home, passed out.
So when you went back out with Charlie the next day,
Yeah.
how long were you working on your car before you figured out what was wrong with it?
With her lights actually shining on my engine bay, it took 5-10 minutes to see a bunch of wires that had gotten undone, and just bolted everything back on tighter and moved the battery back to where it's supposed to be. There was one wire that had been ripped entirely. It looked like a ground that went from the battery terminal to the chassis. I replaced that. Things started to right up and ran, but I wasn't sure because it seems kind of weird, like you said. If the battery comes disconnected, that shouldn't stall your car out. So that's why I had her following me, just in case it happened again. She would still be there behind me and I wouldn't be stranded. Did that till we got back to Twin Falls. I felt comfortable taking off.
Okay, if she didn't get out of the car at any time, where you're over there and you're working on your car and stuff, and you're telling me she followed you all the way out to the Twin Falls area, and you're positive about that, okay. How did we find her dog in the eco? Can you explain that?
I cannot. Other than that dog, I've seen dogs run miles, but I have no explanation for how it got out there. The fact that it was dry and clean when it was out there, even though the weather's been kind of, I got nothing on that one.
So if the dog ran several miles and stuff over there, you figured it'd be tired and winded and stuff, but dog was perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually saw pictures of it. It looked in really good condition, which I was happy about. So. But again, I have no explanation for it.
Did you do anything to cause her to crash?
No.
Did you push your car off the cliff or anything? Drive her car off the cliff? So, I want to believe you. I really, really do.
It's your job not to, and I understand. It's okay.
But the thing is, I've been doing this thing for a long time.
I've literally given you guys everything that happened between Saturday night and Sunday night when I saw her last.
Because like I said, we'll get your text messages and stuff from the cell phone company. I'm not gonna find anything on there where there was an exchange of words, where there was fuck you, kiss my ass kind of thing.
Absolutely not. As far back as you go, you will never find anything like that.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
I know. I had nothing to do with her disappearance, other than the fact that if I had ever called her for help, it wouldn't be her out there. Maybe it'd be somebody else. I don't know. I do totally hold myself responsible to some degree, because she wouldn't have been out in that area if it weren't for me.
Well, why didn't you call your friend Adam or somebody else and stuff to help you go get your car?
Because I wanted to talk to Charlie about it.
Okay. And when your car stalled out on Saturday night, Sunday morning and stuff, why didn't you call somebody to come take you out?
Because it was about 2 in the morning and I didn't want to bother anybody.
Okay. But that's one hell of a hike, right?
I've actually done it before. I just posted up at K&I Landing right under the streetlight and stuck my thumb out. It was a 3-mile walk to there, or roughly, what did I say, 3.2 miles when I hit the odometer at the stop sign when I drove out there yesterday. A car or two passed me there, a car passed me under the streetlight, and then another car actually stopped, and I was like, I'm just trying to get home to get to work in the morning. It took me damn near right home.
And you don't know those people's names?
Some dude named Brian driving a Toyota Corolla, but we just exchanged pleasantries. It wasn't like...
Did he tell you he lived out in Rana?
No, we didn't discuss where he lives. I was actually kind of tired, and I just told him where I was going. I think I might have even nodded off a few times in his car.
Yeah. Well, that's my only concern, yeah. No, because like I said, you don't seem like the type of person, you know, that go out and beat people up, and especially your girlfriend who's carrying your child.
Definitely not.
You know, so the thing is, there's something in the past that happened, other than that rough housing and stuff that, you know, or is it something unrelated, that a previous girlfriend or something that you were thinking about that you got involved with, that, you know?
No. The rough housing was literally like, I was just being playful. I was going to push her under the bed and we were going to have sex, but I pushed her a little too hard and she didn't like it. So she didn't actually get hurt, she just wasn't happy. What about another girlfriend? Can you clarify that question a little bit?
Basically, you know, did you have another girlfriend prior to Charlie, and maybe you had an incident with her?
I've had two girlfriends since Charlie, actually.
Okay.
And Taylor did not end exactly well, but again, I wish no harm on her. She just was cheating on me, so I put all her stuff outside and said, well, you can go move in with him then. And then that was actually about a week before I got Charlie pregnant, because I was very upset with the situation at hand. I was going to stopwatch to drink that night, got trashed. She was there. We started talking, and then I woke up in her house the next day like, oh crap. And then I get a call a couple months later like, yeah, Charlie's got your baby.
Who told you?
My friend Adam. She didn't want to tell me because I've made it kind of clear that like I'm not a big fan of children. I don't interact with children. I don't hate them. I don't like, you know, I don't kick children away from me.
You don't despise kids, but you're just not ready to have yours.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to hang around with anything that can't have a conversation with me right now. So I think she was scared of what my initial reaction was going to be. That's what my friend Adam said. But after he told me, I called her, and I mean, yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to pull up the voicemail if you go back far enough. The voicemail left her was like, well, there's no hiding it now. I know you're carrying my child. I know you're probably scared of how I'm going to react, but I promise you I will not react harshly in any way. I just think we need to start dialogue again. We need to talk. If you're going to have my baby, I want to be part of its life. And I need to know how we're going to do this. And then periodically, every couple of weeks, we get together and talk about things. And the first few conversations were like, well, have you considered termination? Have you considered adoption? And I admittedly didn't want to deal with a child. I did just not. But as I saw how happy it made her to be starting a family, and how happy it made everybody else that she told she was starting a family, it kind of grew on me, even to the point where when we were discussing names, that's actually in a text message you'll probably pull up, was I called her. I was like, I want to discuss names. I think it's something we should do.
So, you know, you telling me you don't hate kids, but you don't want kids. You know,
It's not that I don't want kids. It's just I never planned for it, and then this was a giant surprise.
so basically, what were your concerns and stuff about having a child?
I'm a single 24-year-old male who has a dog, and I can barely keep me and my dog. I mean, like, yeah, we eat pretty well, but it's like I have $1 in my pocket right now until my next paycheck. I don't have any spare cash for a child. And she's the same way. She's working 2 or 3 jobs from what I understand, and barely scraping by on her bills too with her 2 dogs. So I mean, I just didn't see it happening I want to provide the best possible life for that child, and at first it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. But again, as I saw her being happy and I saw the other people being happy, and everybody around us was so helpful and so willing to help support us, that it was going to work. And even my new current girlfriend, Cassie, I called her up immediately as I found out, laid it out for her, and she wasn't necessarily happy, of course, but even she was willing to try to make this all work. And I told Charlie about my new girlfriend, Cassie, and all three of us were willing to make this work. So
how long have you been seeing Cassie?
I think we started seeing each other in November-ish.
Yeah. So just
Early.
right after.
Yeah, like I got rid of Taylor, had sex with Charlie, got another girlfriend. I'm sorry, I'm cute, can't help it. Cassie was actually kind of an interesting thing, because this might be irrelevant, but I'll give you guys any information I can. So I started seeing Cassie, I saw her at a bar, I started talking to her. I called her up the next day, we kept talking, we got along really well, things started going really well, we started actually dating. She had already bought her plane ticket back to her home on the mainland in Pennsylvania before I met her. So I didn't realize it when we first met, but we only had 3 weeks to hang out, I think. So she dropped that ball at some point. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just have fun while you're here, and whatever happens after that, happens after that. Well, we ended up loving each other so much that we've been talking every day on the phone, sometimes twice a day, even though she's like almost 5,000 miles away. She decided to move back to be with me. And
When was this?
the decision was made pretty close to right after she left, maybe 2 or 3 weeks right after she got home. And the plane ticket is for the 18th. She lands here at 9:40 at night.
So, what did she say when you told her that I'm gonna be a daddy?
At first, she hung up on me because she thought what I was saying was that I was cheating on her. So after we cleared that up, she was confused and didn't really know how to think about it. She has another friend named Miley who is in a very similar situation, dating this man named Zach. Zach has a baby with another girl, so Miley's stepmom, effectively, right? So Cassie called Miley, and Miley told her, like, you know, it's not what you're expecting, but it's gonna be nice, and you don't have to raise the kid yourself. It's not your kid. You just smile and keep it fed when you can. If I need help, help me. I don't know the full extent of their conversation, but basically it lightened Cassie up to the point where she was accepting of it now. And she was still willing to come back and try, at the very least. She was actually going to move back whether or not it was for me, because she's miserable in Pennsylvania because it's like -20 there, and then she has family here, so she was going to move back in with them if it wasn't in with me.
Mm-hmm. Did at any time Cassie pressure you to terminate?
No. She in fact pressured me to be a big part of the child's life.
You know, you talk about financials and stuff like that. How is your financials? What do you make?
I make roughly $2,000 a month. My truck, 92 3.0 4Runner, so I get like 12 miles to the gallon. That consumes a lot of gas, but it's the only truck I have. I don't have money to go buy another truck right now, or a car or anything. Dog food. I do not feed my dog cheap food. I refuse to feed my dog with anything with corn in it or rice or any filler material. He gets damn near pure meat food. And whenever I can, I feed him raw meat food. So that gets kind of expensive. Other than that, just basic living expenses, shampoo, and keep myself clean and whatnot. But it takes up pretty close to all of my money. I even have to take out a few personal loans to put tires on my truck. Just paying those off slowly. So I forget if it's gross or net. My paycheck says $1,000 every 2 weeks, but because of a personal loan I took out with my boss, I actually only get $800. And it just, by the end of the month, it's gone already. Oh, rent. Fucking all that shit, car insurance, that kind of stuff.
Your grandfather charges you rent?
Yes,
How much is your rent?
$500 a month. But I get half the house to myself. I can do whatever I want, and I can leave my dog there, which is really big for me. There's a big acre yard, and I don't have to chain my dog up because I refuse to do that. There's a fenced-in yard, and my grandfather watches my dog and even plays with him sometimes. So that's worth $500 a month in itself to me.
So what is your monthly expenses you pay?
I added all. Can I use your pen and paper? Add something. Big stuff. So it's like $500 a month for rent. And fucking insurance is $100 a month. Gas has got to be $150 a month. That freaking beast. So I want to spend, I don't know, I shop at Costco, but it lasts a while, so another $150 on food a month. And then $100 on dog food a month. God, that's gonna go up now that I took one of her dogs.
So, like I said, you know, I want to believe you. You know, I believe you to a certain extent.
It's your job to be skeptical and check out every lead, and I understand. I want to, but I don't know where Charlie is. I brought no harm to her myself with my own hands. I did not have anybody else to do it. I just wanted to make this all work.
Yeah, I appreciate your cooperation and stuff, you know. But, you know, like I said, it just raises concerns.
Understandably.
You know, it makes me kind of have to rethink things, yeah. So, all right. Do you have any questions? Now, is everything that you testified to a true and accurate account of what happened?
Yes.
Do you have any comments, concerns?
Do you guys need me to sign anything so you guys can have access to my phone records, or is that just something you'll pull up?
That's something we'll pull up.
Okay. Well, if you guys need me to sign off on anything, to search anything, I'm all for it. Search my vehicle, do whatever you want.
Was Charlie ever in your vehicle recently?
No.
No. Okay.
No, she didn't like my truck because you gotta climb into it.
Yeah. She's 5'10".
She's 5'10" and pregnant and kind of heavy set, so.
Okay. Cassie, she's back here already?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Okay. Alright. Can you think of anybody else, any other things, anybody else you think I should talk to that might know anything that might happen to her?
I don't want to be trying to send anybody in the wrong direction here, but her family keeps bringing up this guy that was sketching her out at her house, who the landlord straight up lied about. I think we talked about that
Yeah.
before. That's the only other thing I have. But again, I'm not trying to...
Right, but the thing is, that night and stuff, you didn't see anybody following you, correct? You guys were all the only cars out there,
Yeah,
you know.
they want yeah, a car might have passed us while I was working on the truck.
Right, but other than that, as far as when she was following you out.
Yeah, there was no third car either way.
And she didn't respond to you on Monday when you texted her?
No, but I didn't think that was unusual because she does work sometimes and sometimes does not get back to me right away. I in fact kind of shrugged it off until the cops tapped on my door at 5 the next morning, 5:30 the next morning. And then I became really concerned. Went to work, hammered through my work as fast as I could, and drove her family out there to show them exactly what had happened.
Alright. You have any questions? Okay. This is going to conclude the interview with Steven Capobianco, again Detective Lou, February 12, 2014. The time right now is 12:03.
You just take.
I do.
Wait, this is a document. Give one that doesn't say that. Here we go.
That goes to the table. I just wrote that on.
While you're doing that, sort of grab the transcripts. for that.
Yes, Your Honor, may the transcripts be collected, thank you.
Okay, that's great.
This is my notes on this. I keep that.
So Your Honor, just
Please take like this.
one note here.
This is just marked, not the intro, it's just marked. This is marked. Now, Sergeant Lou, after you,
One thing
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
The written stipulation that the parties presented to the court, I noticed that the date included there, and I read it as included, so February 12, 2016. Is that what?
No, Your Honor, it should be 2014.
I agree, Your Honor.
Okay. So when I read February 12, 2016, the parties actually meant February 12, 2014. And so, may I recommend that amend this?
Yeah, the state will submit an amended stipulation.
And the defense will readily sign.
Thank you. Now, Sergeant, oh, thank you, Your Honor. Now, Sergeant Lou, after you concluded the second interview, what, if anything, transpired with the defendant?
At that time, after I concluded the interview with Mr. Capobianco, I asked if he would be willing for us to search his vehicle.
And you asked the defendant that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did he consent to a search of his vehicle?
Yes, sir, he did.
And I've showed you some photographs already. Let me show you the rest of the photographs involving the vehicle in question. Thank you. Can I see the photograph vehicles? I need to forerunner. Did I go all of them then? Okay. And did you recover anything that morning or that day from the defendant's vehicle?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
And I showed you you saw earlier the photographs of the defendant's hands and you were able to recognize that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Were those photographs taken that morning on February 12th, 2014?
Objection.
If you know.
Objection leading.
The objection is
Do you know when those photographs were taken?
On the morning of February 12, 2014, sir.
And how do you know that?
I was there when the evidence tech took those photos.
Okay. Cut those, sorry. We already showed the hands on. Okay, I'm going to show you what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibits 22 through 34. You know, may I approach?
You may do so.
Okay. Now, Sergeant, I'm going to have you take a look at those, and when you're done, please look up. Should take us to the end of the block off. Now, Sergeant Lou, essentially, what are those photographs of?
These are photographs of Mr. Capobianco.
And are those accurate representations or depictions of the defendant that morning on February 12, 2014?
Yes, sir.
You know, this time the state would move into evidence states exhibits 22 to 34.
No objection from the defense.
For the record, States Exhibits 27, 28, and 31 are already in.
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, the court will receive in evidence States Exhibits 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 29, 30, 32, 33, and 34 marked for identification purposes in evidence. Meaning that States Exhibits 22 through 34 are all now in evidence.
Okay, and permission to publish them.
Permission is granted.
Thank you. Now, beginning first with States Exhibit 22, which is in evidence, if I can turn your attention to the monitor facing the court. What are we looking at here?
This is just an overall frontal view of Mr. Capobianco's face.
And is that how he appeared that morning on February 12th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now turning your attention to States Exhibit 23, which is in evidence.
This is a frontal view of his torso from his waist up of Mr. Capobianco.
Okay. Now, Sergeant, looking at that picture and basing on your memory, did you notice or observe any injuries to the defendant's torso?
No, sir.
Okay. And turning your attention to States Exhibit 24, which is in evidence.
That is a profile view of his left side of Mr. Capobianco.
And did you notice or observe any injuries to any areas of his torso or his arms on that side?
Not to his torso or his arms.
Okay. And States Exhibit 25.
This is an overall view of Mr. Capobianco's back.
Did you notice or observe any injuries to his back?
No, sir.
And States Exhibit 26.
This is a side profile on the right side, Mr. Capobianco, from his torso up.
And did you notice any injuries in that area or portion of his body?
No, sir.
No, we've already looked at State's Exhibit 27. I have a question for you, though. Turning to State's Exhibit 27, which is already in evidence. Do you recall hearing the recording when the explanation the defendant provided to you with respect to the injuries on his hand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did he, when he mentioned to you that, well, first of all, do you recall the defendant mentioning something about receiving an injury at work at Mondo Foods in the bakery section?
Yes, sir.
Did he demonstrate or indicate to you which injury was that the result from?
The right hand, the injuries on the right hand, he said, was from reaching into the oven to get up a bake wrap.
Okay. And can you just step down and point to that injury using the pointer that's leaning against the wall?
This injury over here.
Okay, and the record should reflect you're indicating or pointing to the defendant's right hand area, and you're pointing to the, I guess, the darkened line that's across the back of his hand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But I'll have the record reflect, he's only pointing to the middle portion of the hand and not to the extreme towards the pinky, unless he intends to. Okay. So now I'll have the record reflect, he is now pointing to the whole length, extending to the pinky. That's fine.
Proceed.
Thank you. Now, do you recall, in addition to mentioning that he had received that injury, the one you just indicated to, at the bakery at Mondo Foods, he also mentioned, do you recall him mentioning that he received an injury fixing a friend's car?
Oh, it was his car.
Or his car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he indicate which injury resulted from fixing his car?
This injury here on his pinky, on his left hand.
Okay, and the record should reflect that that Sergeant Liu is indicating with the pointer to two small lines that's on the defendant's pinky finger of his left hand. Okay, thank you. You may have a seat. Now,
Your Honor, I'm hoping to reserve 5 minutes for motions before adjourning.
All right.
now showing you what has been marked and entered as State's Exhibit 29. Do you see that there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, who placed that ruler on the defendant's right hand?
Our evidence tech, Suki.
And the injury that's there, can you describe that for us that you see?
I'm going to object, it speaks for itself.
The objection is sustained.
Okay. Okay, turning your attention next to State's, which is 30. To State's Exhibit 30, which is in evidence. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in this picture, did you notice any injury to the palm of his right hand?
Yes, sir, it did.
Can you indicate that? Can you step down and indicate that using the pointer?
Sorry, this one's a little bit bright.
Okay, let me go to State's Exhibit 33.
So I'll have the record reflect that Sergeant Liu has looked at the picture on both television screens and has not been able to identify anything.
You know, that's not correct. He said this is a little light on the big screen. He did not say anything with respect to the little screen facing the court.
The jury can decide for itself. I would have the record reflect.
That's a wrong record, Your Honor.
Let's get that clarified.
I would need to look at the photos, because the coloring on this thing is a little bit washed out, so it's hard for me to see. But I know it's in the photo.
Okay.
I'm going to object